Mic check 1 2. In an age where retro game collecting seems near impossible, I thought that it would be a very good thing to showcase 15 games that are affordable, 15 games that you can actually collect and not have to pay through the nose to enjoy and build your retro gaming collection. Today, we're focusing on the PlayStation 2, and I want to show you 12 affordable games. And by affordable, I mean that these games are about $30 and under. You have games that are on the low end of that spectrum, you have games that are on the higher end of that spectrum. But to me, $30 feels affordable. It's not particularly cheap, but it isn't the prices that you think of when you often think about retro video games. It's not the, you know, 80, 90, $200. I also have so in this mix we have 12 affordable games, and then I added another 3 games that are just slightly above what I would consider the affordable tier, and that's usually the tier between like $30 and maybe $50 to $55. It's not to say that $30 to $55 isn't affordable. It's just it's more expensive, right? And so not everyone is going to feel as comfortable paying 35, 40, $50 for a retro game. So I kind of wanted to just add 3 more games in this list because I think it would be cool for just people to see. So I'm going to go ahead and just showcase these games. I'm not going to talk about them a lot. If any of these look interesting to you, you're more than welcome to do your research. Check out some gameplay footage on YouTube. But we're going to kind of go through these slightly quickly. And I'll kind of let you know what I like about these games. And some of these games I haven't played in some time. And some of them I have played recently. So we'll talk about the first one. So this is Devil Kings. I enjoy this game because it reminds me a lot of the Dynasty Warriors series. I think this is actually a part of the Sengoku Basara series, if I'm not mistaken. But it plays pretty much like all your Dynasty Warriors games. It is a hack and slasher. You pick one of the main characters is usually like a general in some type of army, and you get basically a playing grid that you have to play on. And if you've ever played Dynasty Warriors, it's the same principle. You go to each point on the battle map and you have to destroy the general. Once you destroy the general, you're able to claim that territory, and you pretty much move from checkpoint to checkpoint until you claim the entire map for your army. Whichever character you choose, as you fight throughout each level, you build them up, learn new moves, enhance the strength of your special attacks, so on and so forth. The thing that I really like about Devil Kings, which I can't remember seeing in a lot of the Dynasty Warrior games I've played, I want to say the only Dynasty Warriors game that I actually beat was Dynasty Warriors 6 on the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360, one of those two. But the thing I love about Devil Kings are the cutscenes. They have some really cool anime cutscenes, and they also have some really cool like 3D cutscenes as well. I think they did some, it's Capcom, right? So I think they put a lot of energy and effort into the voice acting and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I really like about Devil Kings. It's really kind of the ideal game for me because I'm very much into hack and slashers. Best part about this game is it's only 15 bucks. Very cheap game, very easy to get. This is one that I would check out if you're a fan of hack and slash action adventure games. Devil Kings, check this one out. Next game is Seven Samurai. I like Seven Samurai because, again, this is another hack and slasher. You're a samurai who has no master. You're playing in this like futuristic city. It's really like a perfect blend of like sci-fi and like samurai, like old school samurai type of game. It is kind of like open world. There's more open levels. It is linear, but it's like open, you know what I mean? Or as open as you could be during this era. The only truly open world game that I can think of whenever I think about the PlayStation 2, in my opinion, is Shadow of the Colossus. That feels super open, but that's a tangent I'm not going to go off on. And Shadow of the Colossus, it's not on this list, but I should have put of the Colossus on this list. But Seven Samurai is a cool game, and I'm just kind of showcasing games that maybe you may not have really heard about or thought about. Seven Samurai is one of them. Very cool hack and slasher. I think this game is somewhere between 20 and 25 bucks. Not crazy expensive. I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of this one if you are into hack and slash games. Next game, this is definitely one I would recommend too. This is another 20 to 25er. This is Musashi. So if you've ever played Brave Fencer Musashi on the PlayStation 1, this is like the sequel to that game. Brave Fencer Musashi is actually a really cool game. It's one of the few like action RPG hack and slash style games on the PlayStation 1 that's like an adventure game. Very fun game. I enjoyed it. And I think for that generation, it's got some solid graphics for that generation. This is basically the sequel to that game. It is another hack and slasher, but this one plays more like Kingdom Hearts. Whenever I play this game, it gives me like Kingdom Hearts vibes between the music, the cel shaded graphics. Very cool game. Very cool game. One that I would definitely recommend. If you like Kingdom Hearts, I think you'll like Musashi for sure. This is a very cool game. Not one that's not talked about as much anymore. But I definitely recommend this one. It's a beautiful game too. Next up, Maximo Army of Zen. So this one's probably going to be on the higher end of the affordable spectrum. This game will probably run you right at $30. I know there are some people who try to charge like 35 bucks for this game, because at one point this was like a $50 game, but it's come down some. So Maximo Army of Zen is definitely a solid option. If you like, this is a very well balanced action platform, like 3D action platforming hack and slash game with, you know, there's a little bit of a collectathon element to it. It's got a very cool and interesting story. It is a sequel to Maximo Ghost Glory. And out of the two Maximo games on the PlayStation, I would say Army of Zen is probably the more, no, it's definitely the more difficult game. So this one's a lot more difficult. If you want to just kind of get into the series and you know, learn the story, you could definitely start off with Ghost of Glory. And Ghost of Glory is definitely cheaper. That's like a $12 to $15 game. So you actually get both games in the series for roughly around 50 bucks, which I think is really good for two top tier Capcom games. And I mean that from a graphics, music perspective, really good cutscenes in this game as well. Really quality production in this game. So I definitely would recommend Army of Zen for sure. This is a cool one worth checking out. But again, this one is on the high end of the affordable spectrum, probably right at $30 for this one. Next up, we have Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. So I think this is a very cool take on Mortal Kombat in that it's basically an adventure game. It's an adventure beat 'em up game. So we're so used to Mortal Kombat being like a fighting game. They took this concept and made it a 3D beat 'em up game on the PlayStation 2. I like it. I like the concept, and I think I've said this in another video. I kind of wish they would do something like that with Street Fighter. I would love to see a Street Fighter adventure game. That would be so sick, man. Like I'm hoping that at some point Capcom will do something like that and kind of follow this format. Whether Capcom decides to make it a like a 2D beat 'em up, or whether they make it a 3D beat 'em up adventure game, I would love to see Capcom somehow turn Street Fighter into an action adventure game. I think the story would work well as you go through each level fighting your way to M. Bison. And Bison obviously could still be the last boss. You imagine you could do air combos as a beat 'em up. It'd just be sick. I don't know, all the things you could do with a Street Fighter adventure game. I would love it. I think I said that in another video, and someone said that there's something like that out there. I don't know. You guys let me know. I've never heard of that, but that's exactly what they did here with Shaolin Monks. The only other Mortal Kombat adventure game that comes to my mind is Sub-Zero. That was like another, like, that came out on the PlayStation 1. It was kind of like a side scroller, like beat 'em up type of game or something like that. I think that's what it was. It's been a while since I played Sub-Zero. But this is a very interesting take on Mortal Kombat. And the best part is that this is like a $25 to $28 game. One that I highly recommend. Definitely worth checking out if you like beat 'em ups. And you're going to notice something. A lot of the games in this pile are hack and slash games, beat 'em up games, adventure games, because those are the games that I like. So I can only show you what I like. So this is definitely one I would recommend. Next up, of course, I gotta have a shoot 'em up in there. For those of you who don't, if you follow the channel, you know I love my shoot 'em ups. And I'll be honest, R-Type Final isn't the best installment in the R-Type franchise. I think they tried to improve a lot of things from this game when they came out with R-Type Final 2, which is available on the Switch. But R-Type Final is cool. It's a cool entry in the R-Type series, and it's really kind of the only R-Type game that we got on the play. No, there's another R-Type game that came out on PlayStation 2, but I feel like that's more of like a tactics. It's like an R-Type tactics game, or maybe that was the PSP. I don't know. You guys can let me know down in the comments, but there really aren't a ton of like amazing shoot 'em ups on the PlayStation 2, to be quite honest with you. You've got Sylphied, R-Type Final, Castle of Shikigami. But I feel like the better shoot 'em ups on the PlayStation 2 were Japan exclusives. So you guys can let me know if there's a really cool shoot 'em up available on the PlayStation 2 that I'm just not aware of. You guys can let me know down in the comments. But if you're looking for a shoot 'em up on the PlayStation 2, R-Type Final is definitely an option. This is like a $15 to $20 game. And all these prices that I'm giving you are complete in box for these games, right? Obviously, they're cheaper if you get them disc only or if you get them in like poor condition. But if you're looking for a copy in an 8 out of 10 condition, you're looking at 15 to 20 bucks. I think this is a solid game at that price. I think it's worth it. If people were trying to charge like 50, 60, $70 for this game, I would say it's definitely not worth it. But the fact that you can pick this game up for 15 to 20 bucks, it's definitely worth it if you're into shoot 'em ups. So R-Type Final. Surprisingly enough, Capcom versus SNK 2 is on this list. And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't think that it would make this list, but Capcom versus SNK 2 is a quality 2D fighting game. It's not, the Capcom versus SNK series has never reached the Marvel versus Capcom series, at least not for me. I don't think it has. I think for everyone who's a fan of like the King of Fighters games, yeah, for you, it probably was an amazing game for those folks. But if you were never into like the King of Fighters series or the Fatal Fury series, or like even Samurai Showdown or any of those games like that, then it's really not going to be appealing to you. This is on the higher end of the affordability spectrum. I would say this game is probably right at $30. I know some people still try to charge more for this game, but it is a 2D fighting game, basically. I think the music is great. The graphics are great. I think it looks amazing. Sometimes when I play this game, I say to myself, this actually looks better than Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like the way they saturate the colors in this game, the animations, the backgrounds. But, Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is just a classic. So it's really, we all know it's not better, but a lot of quality production went into this one. So this is, if you're into the Capcom versus series on any level, this is definitely one worth checking out. Like I said, it is on the higher end of the affordability spectrum. Comes in right at around 30, but this is one that I would definitely take a look at if you're building a PlayStation 2 collection. Next up, this one is interesting. So Teen Titans, in my opinion, is a great, great game. It's kind of underrated. And for whatever reason, the Xbox version is like wildly expensive. Someone explained that to me, because this isn't like a rare game at all. The Teen Titans came out on the PlayStation 2, it came out on the GameCube, and it came out on the original Xbox. The GameCube and PlayStation 2 versions hover between like 25 and 30 bucks. Maybe the GameCube version's a little bit more expensive when you get it complete, but a complete in-box copy for the PlayStation 2, somewhere between 25 and 30 bucks. I think that this is a very well done multiplayer co-op, like isometric beat 'em up style game. So this is basically like the WB version of like this game plays like Ultimate Alliance, right? So you could pick any one of the 5 Teen Titans. They all have their basic attacks, like their weak attacks, their strong attacks, and then they have their own exclusive special attacks based on their own unique powers and abilities, right? And throughout the game, you have these different collectibles and different items that you could pick up that enhance those abilities, makes them stronger, right? You could just be more effective throughout the game. The level design is good. I think it has good pacing, and of course, the story is going to be great because it's Teen Titans. So Teen Titans was an extremely popular show in the like late 90s to early 2000s. If you were still watching like WB or like Cartoon Network or anything like that, just a very good show. I think it still has a large following to this day. And a lot of times when they have these like video games based on the cartoons, sometimes they're pretty whack. I'm not gonna lie, but this was a very well done game. So if you can find yourself a clean copy of this game, I recommend picking it up and adding it to your PlayStation 2 collection. Again, this one's inching closer to the higher end of the affordability spectrum, but it's a quality game. You will have fun with this, especially if you're playing with a friend or someone nearby. Great co-op game, one that I highly recommend. Teen Titans on the PlayStation 2. I would look into that. Next up, if you're a fan of beat 'em ups, the Viewtiful Joe series is for you. I don't know if Viewtiful Joe 2 is better than Viewtiful Joe. To be honest, I've always played Viewtiful Joe on the GameCube. That was the original way that I played Viewtiful Joe. I got Viewtiful Joe when it first came out back in the day because I did have a GameCube when I was growing up. And Viewtiful Joe is just cool. I think the whole slowdown aspect of everything is cool. The story is cool. And it's a beat 'em up. You know, it's a very cool beat 'em up. It's an interesting beat 'em up. The attacks in this game are very satisfying. The punches, the kicks, when you really destroy enemies, it's a very satisfying feeling. And it's cool to play on the PlayStation 2. I'll be honest, the ideal way to play this game, in my opinion, is GameCube. That's just my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. But you can pick this game up for, I think, between 20 and 25 bucks. This is not an expensive game at all. This is like hovers around 20, in the low 20s for this one, which I think is a fair price for a quality Capcom game. I think this is a decent sequel to the original. And one worth checking out, man. One worth checking out. I'm a fan of Viewtiful Joe, and this is definitely one that I would look into if you're thinking about building a PlayStation 2 collection. Next up, this one I really like. So Hulk Ultimate Destruction. So Hulk Ultimate Destruction is a game that was released on the GameCube and the Xbox, as well as the PlayStation 2. And this is one of the few games that had a release on all platforms where I think that the PlayStation 2 version is actually the best. I played the GameCube version. I think the, what is it, the frame rate? For some reason, it just looks better. Like the animation just looks better on the PlayStation 2. It's more smooth. It's just got a better feel on the PlayStation 2. And this is kind of like a beat 'em up, right? Because it's Hulk, you're beating stuff up. I really like the fact that you can pretty much almost smash anything on the playing field. You know, it's very interactive, which makes sense, right? Ultimate Destruction. And there are a lot of Hulk games that have come out on a lot of platforms. But I feel like in the sixth generation and really sixth generation, we got a lot of Hulk games. We got and they were all based on the different Hulk movies, right? So you had the Hulk, which was based on the first Hulk movie that came out in the early 2000s, which in my opinion was probably the worst Hulk movie. You have the Incredible Hulk, which was based on the Hulk movie that starred Edward Norton. You have that Hulk game. You have Hulk Ultimate Destruction, which I don't think this is based on any movie. And I think that might be why this one is the best. I think it's the best depiction of Hulk and his powers and abilities. I think this is the one that you'll like the most, especially if you're looking for some action. This is on the higher end of the affordability spectrum. I would say this is probably going to be at the top end, somewhere between 25 and 30 bucks, especially on the PlayStation 2 if you get a complete in box. But this is a quality beat 'em up game, one that I would recommend you check out if you're building your PlayStation 2 collection for sure. And is this the last one? I think we have one more. So the next one that we have here is Castlevania Lament of Innocence. So there are two Castlevania games that came out on the PlayStation 2. You have Castlevania Curse of Darkness and Lament of Innocence. In one of these games, I can't remember because it's been a while since I've played them both, but in one of these games, one of your powers is, I think you either have the power to control enemies and have them fight on your behalf, or you can actually like create NPCs that fight on your behalf. I don't know if it's Lament of Innocence or Curse of Darkness. Either way, both Castlevania games for the sixth generation on the PlayStation 2 were quality games. They're hack and slashers for the most part, with some adventure and exploration to them. They follow obviously the Castlevania lore. And I think that these are quality games. You know, Konami, most of the games that I'm showing you here are either Konami, Capcom, Square Enix, Squaresoft. These are all companies that produce quality products, and I think you're just going to get another quality product here. Best of all is Lament of Innocence is, want to say, on the lower end of the $20 range, so between 20 and 25. You could definitely get this game. Curse of Darkness is more expensive for sure. I think Curse of Darkness lands in somewhere in the 40s zone, maybe $35, $40 range. So this is the cheaper of the two games. Both are great games, both worth checking out and playing. If you're looking to add another quality title to your PlayStation 2 collection, I think this one is definitely affordable and one that I would look into. You can easily find this game too. That's the thing with a lot of these games, with most of these games, you can easily find them. You know, a lot of these games are still being sold at GameStop. These are games that you should be able to find easily at your nearest mom and pop video game store. So I would definitely check these out, or check this one out for sure. All right, and is this the last one? Okay, this is the last of the like affordable range. So between like 0 and $30, and that is the Bouncer. I don't think I had many beat 'em ups on this list. This might be the only beat 'em up on this list. And I could have put others, right? You have Beatdown, which is another beat 'em up that's pretty cool, and is also somewhat affordable. I think Beatdown on the PlayStation 2 is somewhere between like 20 and $30. But you also have the Bouncer, which is also between 20 and $30. Not the most, the controls in this game aren't the most fun, right? From a beat 'em up perspective, I'll be honest there. I think it has an interesting story. But the gameplay is the gameplay isn't all the way there. You know, I think some of the better beat 'em ups on the PlayStation 2 are just going to be more expensive when you think about like Final Fight Streetwise, Urban Reign, God Hand for sure. God Hand is like the top tier beat 'em up on the PlayStation 2 as far as 3D beat 'em ups go, which there were a decent amount of 3D beat 'em ups on the PlayStation 2 now that I think about it. But Bouncer is definitely on there. It's more niche, one that I would definitely recommend looking into. It's a quality title. And again, this one is probably in the mid 20s. So not too expensive, mid 20s, definitely worth looking into. And that kind of does it for the, $0 to $30 range of games. All quality titles, all titles I would say are worth looking into. I think these are all games that, anyone who's just looking to start a collection will enjoy. All right, so now that we've shown those, I did just kind of want to highlight 3 more games that I think are worth looking into. They're not in the they are not in the $0 to $20 range, but they are probably going to be between like 30 and maybe $45. These are all games that I think are worth looking into if you are willing to spend a little bit more money. So the first one is going to be Alien Hominid. So if you're a fan of like the Metal Slug games, and you're a fan of like games like Super Meat Boy, you like cel shaded graphics, you like action adventure, this is a really cool side-scrolling kind of shooter beat 'em up type of game. You're basically aliens, you're fighting against the FBI, and the animations in this game are just really, really cool. I think this is a very cool game. It is co-op. I think you can play co-op with this one, and just very interesting. There is a GameCube version of this game. I don't know if it came out on the original Xbox, but this is definitely one worth looking into. I would look up some gameplay footage on this one. Check it out on YouTube. This is just jam-packed with a bunch of really cool stuff, man. I would really recommend Alien Hominid. I think it's worth looking into. Next up, Alien Hominid. This is probably in the 35 to 40 range for this one. So it's not way expensive. It's not that much more expensive than like what I would consider affordable, but it is more than $30. So you'll probably take more consideration when spending that kind of money on a retro game. The next one that we have here is Ys Arc of Nephishtim. So there is, I think, a PlayStation Portable. There's a PSP version of this game, if I'm not mistaken. But then you do have the PlayStation 2 version. I'm a fan of the Ys series. Ys is basically like an action RPG series that I think incorporates, some really cool elements, right? Like you have your basic, like kind of like basic attacks. You're able to, increase your weapons. You've got spells and different things that you can, use throughout the game. It's been a while since I played Ark of Nephishtim. I want to say the last Ys game that I played consistently was probably Ys Origins. I made it pretty far in that game. I don't think I've ever beaten it. But I'm a fan of the Ys series. Once it got to like Ys 8, maybe Ys 7 or 8, that was when they kind of changed the gameplay style. It's always played as kind of like a top-down or like an isometric hack and slasher. And then once you get around to like Ys 7 or 8, that's when it becomes like a full 3D open world feeling kind of hack and slash RPG game. So this still kind of follows the older like gameplay style of the Ys series. I think this is worth looking into if you are a fan of that series. This one is gonna fall closer in the $40 range. I'm not sure specifically where it lands, but it is in the $40 range. I think that's one that you may want to check out. And then the last but not least, one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. This is the Red Star. So if you've never heard of the Red Star is a action adventure game. It is kind of like a side-scrolling hack and slash shoot 'em up game. There are certain parts in this game, especially when you get to the boss battles, where it does feel like a shooter, like a shoot 'em up. Just on the way the enemy attack patterns are coming at you, and the way you have to dodge and deflect and things like that. You get to choose of one of, I think it's one of three characters you get to choose from, all ranging in specialty. I think the most effective and potent character is this guy. He's more of like a melee style brawler in the game. But overall, a very fun game, interesting story. I really like the Red Star, one that I would recommend you at least look into. This one is probably going to be the most expensive game on this list, hovering somewhere between 45 and 50 bucks, complete in box, but definitely one worth looking into for sure. And that does it. I really didn't want this to be super long. It still wound up being over 25 minutes anyway. So I really didn't want to go too deep into all these games. I know I talked a little bit about some of them, but look into these games. You know, we often hear how expensive retro game collecting is and how tough it is to find games. There's a lot of games that fall in that under $35 price tag that are quality games, especially on consoles like the PlayStation 2, the Xbox. You know, even the original PlayStation has a lot of quality games that fall in that price range. You know, you just got to be willing to look. You know, not every game that you pick up has to be a grail. Not every game that you pick up has to be a rare, you know, $100 game. I just think sometimes we get so caught up in that we forget to, you know, see the stuff in the middle. It's either a really great, grail game or like a $2 game, you know, some kind of NBA 2K15, and we could just kind of forget all that good stuff in the middle. So let me know what you think about this stack. Let me know what you think about these games in terms of their affordability, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.